Do you want to live a life of freedom and adventure? Are you wanting more than the daily grind? Me too. Welcome to the Lovell Show, a place where we talk about living a life you love now. I'm your host, Lovell, and my number one value is freedom. I've spent the last 14 years running a business and traveling the world, and now I take my husband and toddler along for the adventure too. It's possible, and I know you can create a life doing what you truly love as well. This podcast will inspire, motivate, and encourage you to go after your dreams, to create a life you love and to live it now, not wait for retirement or someday in the future. I'll be sharing episodes weekly about how I harmonize business, travel, and self-care. I'll also bring on incredible guests to share their journeys, the wins, the challenges, and how they're creating a life they love. Let's jump in and get dreaming. This is a space for you to manifest a life you love. I would like to acknowledge and recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first peoples of this place, now known as Australia. I am grateful for the continuing care of the land, waterways and skies where I work, live, listen, learn and play. From here on Yugambeh country and from wherever you are listening, I pay my respects to the elders past and present. Welcome to the podcast today. I am delighted to have a long overdue guest, the wonderful Jamie Abbott.
Hi, Emma. Thanks for having me. When you say long overdue, I actually stood you up when I was living in Jamaica 2 years ago. The time difference, I got confused and left you hanging. So thank you for giving me another chance. I appreciate it.
Look, I did it last week. Jamie's also part of my Host Profitable Retreats course, and I just didn't even go to my group call. So because I was in India, so we all do it. I stood up Tina in Bosnia. So, you know, like it doesn't matter how long we've been doing this, how much we travel. I think time zones are a killer. You and I are on the different time zones right now, Queensland, New South Wales, which is utterly ridiculous. The fact is we're here and we were always going to do this. So
yeah, thank you. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me back. Having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, I'm sure we'll have you back because as always, you've always got so much wonderful goodness to share. But Jamie, in your words, who are you?
Who am I? Well, right now I have a course called Paid to Speak, and I specialize in teaching business owners, entrepreneurs, subject matter experts how to become highly paid speakers. And my course, which you are one of the alumni, one of the OGs actually, it teaches people how to basically get their first 5K speaking gig in a month, even if you've never even spoken before. And we've had over 300 people go through that course now, and many of whom are now commanding $10, $15, some $20,000 for a keynote. So I'm pretty proud of the results. On the back of that, I have a membership called PR Club, and my background is three main streams: military, politics, and journalism. And for many, many years, combining all of those careers, I would speak for free or next to nothing. And you might know my story, but for those who don't know, it was December 2021 where I was asked to speak for a corporate client, and I was a local politician and I had 2 young kids and we were building a house coming off COVID. I had no time in the calendar to do that particular speaking gig. And so I just said to the client, that'll be $30,000 plus GST. And that was for a 1-day workshop on Zoom. And it took them 46 minutes to hit accept on that quote. And so, of course, I made time to do that particular speaking gig after that. But I realized, oh my goodness, I have been undercharging all of these years. I've been telling my clients to undercharge all of those years. And so that was kind of how Paid to Speak was born. And I created the course. It took me about 5 months to put together the course. That was back in 2022. When I launched it, and about to go through my 9th launch now. The doors are opening soon. They open every year in May and October, and I wouldn't do anything else. I absolutely love the results we're getting for clients.
Well, and it's amazing what you're doing, Jamie, because the speaking world can be very cagey, and unlike a lot of other industries, like so I used to be a copywriter. There's kind of like a rates, like a junior rate, senior rate, like you can ask this kind of a rates thing going on. But if you don't know that, and I've for years didn't know that either until you ask somebody, and some people won't tell you. And so the fact that you're telling, otherwise you're just pulling numbers out of anywhere. And so you
Yeah.
don't know what's available. And I mean, it's still up to the client and the budget and all that sort of stuff. But as long as people as well keep going around going, no, well, I'll do it for free and I'll do it for free. And how many times have you like been pipped at the post because I was about to be, booked as an MC, and then they go, oh, the lawyer company who's sponsoring, they're going to MC it. And you're like, uh-huh, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. I mean, look, that's probably the number one question I get asked, even from some of the alumni like yourself. We get asked. I think you probably have asked me. I think it's not a day goes by when I don't have a former student say, "Look, I've been asked to either MC or speak at this event. How much should I charge?" And there's not a one size fits all. Depending on the location, online. Do you need to travel? Do you need to stick around afterwards? Are you doing a panel? But generally, it's a lot more than what you first think. I've had now, as I said, over 300 go through the course. More than half of the alumni are women. And I think in particular, women are notorious for undervaluing themselves. And you think about men are too, but the men just seem to, you tell them and they just go for it. I always think in regards to imposter syndrome, women are guilty of that more than men. And you think about men and women, we have sacrificed so much to be able to deliver an amazing keynote and to entertain, motivate, inspire our audiences. We have studied, we've juggled families, and I'm an older mum to two young kids, one special needs child, and I know the sacrifice involved in that. We have made mistakes. So, don't give away those shortcuts for free on stage. People are coming to learn something from you, and I think we do need to back ourselves and charge accordingly.
Yeah, and it makes a huge difference to the event. But the funny thing is, I think you've talked about this before too. Funny thing, my my voice is going scratchy as we're talking about speaking. But they pay the caterer, they pay the event organizer, they pay the photographer, but they ask the speaker who is on the stage, who is holding the event, or who's providing the entertainment, or the MC who carries the whole time to speak for free.
That warms my heart hearing you say that, because that makes me realize you actually have gone through my course, because I have an entire module on that. And you are right. And that is sort of a discussion because so many times organizers will try and skimp on the budget for the speaker. And you're right. They will spend so much money on the lighting, on the sound guy, on the bloody scones and all the extra sort of bells and whistles. But when it comes to the speaker, I have to sort of say to event organizers, what is it that people remember? Do they remember? They might remember the scones, but it's usually the speaker and it's usually the draw card. And sometimes even I've just finished, I've got laryngitis as I recall this. I've had it for a month, but I've just finished 17 speaking gigs, MC gigs mostly across that International Women's Day event. And I did do them for free because I know my ideal customer is in the audience. But in exchange for doing it for free, I want to ask for certain things. I want to be able to pitch my services. I want to be able to either have access to the attendee list, to give something away for free, to be able to film, to get testimonials. I have a bit of a checklist that I take people through if they do something for free. But you are right. It is often where people try and be a little bit stingy when it comes to a speaker budget, but they are making money off the speaker. And most of the time that is the draw card.
I think the difference there is like when it's your choice, and it's your offering, but asking for something in exchange. And I'm very fortunate now to have my book. So, and I had a great offering with, I'd been the guest speaker for one event. I felt a little bit like resentful going there. I was like, you could have at least paid for my parking. Once I got there, it was a really nice moment. Like I'd been involved in the industry. I've since got retreat clients out of that. So I know that has paid off, but they got me then because I had when my book came out, she was like, can you come? You can do a 5-minute spot and you can sell your books. And I sold $500 worth of books that morning. So that is a $500 gig, as well as people coming up and saying, do you do masterclasses? Do you do speak like retreat? But the fact that she offered, the first thing she said is, you can just speak for 5 minutes and you can have a table. So wasn't asking me, like that was because of doing something. Sometimes there is a little bit of paying it forward, but had I asked for my parking to be paid for, maybe I would have felt a little bit better even that first time. Like could just ask for some little things to just make it, because it is your time. It is your energy. But then understanding that if you're doing it out of your choice, knowing that you're going to get potential clients, you want to be in that room, you want that opportunity, but it's not just, oh, they probably won't pay, so I just won't ask.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. And what is in a kind of a cruel, bizarre thing as well, sometimes when you do sort of put your demands up there and say, I want to pay for my parking, my flights, my accommodation, this, and this, it actually makes you appear a lot more of a quality professional speaker. So I even use my examples. I used to charge for my 1 hour Zoom sessions with me, and we're talking 4 years ago, 4.95 an hour. And I had crickets. Nobody was booking me. The minute I put my price up, and I'm about to put it up again, but up to 8.97 an hour, you get a couple a week. And so I said this to a guy the other day, and I was talking to him about putting his prices up as a speaker, and he said, "Yeah, it's really funny you mention that, because if you had have been 4.97 an hour or 4.95 an hour, I would have thought, what's wrong with her? She's too cheap." And so sometimes by putting this up here, I just quoted for a client actually for a really large hotel chain, and let's just say, I won't say the exact figure, but let's just put some figures out there just to put it into perspective. Let's just say I thought in my head, oh, I'll do that for 3,000, and plus a night's accommodation at this 5-6 star hotel. If there's a 6 star hotel, it's one of the good ones. And then in my head, they sort of said 6,000. They came back and they said, look, can you reduce your fee a little bit? And I said, well, actually, I want this, this, and this. And I had a list of demands. I wanted to be able to pitch. I wanted to be able to have my banner up. I wanted to be able to put something in the gift bag. I want my logo to be this, this, and this. And I said, but I still won't do it for less than $4,000 plus GST. Straight away, they accepted. And if I had have gone back and said, oh, look, I'll do it for 2,000, sometimes that can really cheapen your brand, and you can come across as a lot less of a quality speaker and professional. So it's a constant balance. And many times, if your ideal audience is going to be in is there on the night, you're going to make, as you said, more money from your books and your coaching programs and your courses and all that sort of thing. You might sort of want to make some negotiations there along the way.
Yeah, and sometimes, well, it's doing the first one. So we were talking before about I just did an MC gig in India, and the first year I actually paid my own flights because I've got a business partner in India, so I've always got reason to be in India. I was paid for the gig, paid for all expenses, but I paid for my flights. So then the next year, they'd also only tried to book me 2 nights accommodation. I said, I need the extra night after because I don't want to be packing my room the morning I have to go and do a job. So it needs to be 3 nights. I need to be in the hotel the whole time, and I need that all taken care of. And so they said, next time they said, flights, yes, the 3 nights of hotel, yes, that, and yes, any extra expenses. So it's like the first one, you might do a little bit extra to get it, but then the next one, then you have more leverage. And especially if it's a year-on-year event, I'm now booked for the third year. So, and then I stay on and do more business out of it. So, you can understand your benefit. And I think though, like we're taught with the courses, we don't discount, we add value. Or you might do a slightly lower price, but then you added value with that. And I got another MC gig recently because I said, I'll promote you as well, which is like, you can sort of go, wait, but now you're doing more work. But it's like, what is it to us to put it in our email, to put it on our socials? It also looks good for us.
It does, yes.
I'm doing that, but that is a value add to them. And I also gave a prize. It's a charity thing. And I'm like, I'm happy to give a prize as well. So added value that doesn't cost much to us adds a lot to them, means you get your rate. And I think it's okay to negotiate. I think that's the other thing too. If they go no and you just go, oh, okay.
Yeah, I get it. And I guess the other thing for me, I'm just laughing because I've had this realization. I am truly, this might come as a surprise to you. So just shock horror. I'm an extrovert. And so, 110% extrovert. I don't know any other extroverts like that would say that they're full extrovert. I don't need any time alone. I go to the toilet by myself and I get sad. I don't need any time by myself. So that's that balance for me. So when I emceed an event last week, which was incredible, with Janine Ellis, who started Boost Juice. She owns Betty's Burgers. She's on Shark Tank and, Yochi, the frozen yogurt place. Incredible woman. And I emceed that one time for free. And I got so much out of it. I got to sit next to her for a whole hour and have unvetted exclusive access to ask her anything I wanted, and I got to meet some incredible people and get clients out of that. And I come home buzzing. So for me, that really fills my cup. Whereas most of my clients who go through pay to speak, they come out exhausted. They're zapped of energy the next day. I went out partying till 2 a.m. afterwards because I was on such an adrenaline. And so I guess that's that balance for me, because sometimes I think I'll MC, I'll do it because I love every minute of it. But I would be an absolute exception. So for anyone else, most people in my world, I would say 90% of my clients are extreme introverts. So, or even introvert, extrovert, whatever you call it, omni, where they can go on stage and perform and put everything into it, but they are completely zapped of energy the next day. I have a lot of clients in Newcastle. They're driving to Sydney. They're prepping in the lead up to it. They get on stage. They give it their all. They come back with their feet are throbbing from being on heels on stage. Their brain is numb. The next day they're sleeping for all day, and then they're wiped out of their business. So, people need to take that into account when they are quoting. You're not just quoting for 1 hour on stage. In most cases, it's a couple of days out of your business in preparation and then recovering the next day, sometimes a couple of days. All my business coaches, they're extrovert introverts, where they need to just shut out the world for a couple of days afterwards. So when we are quoting, you need to keep that in mind, that it's not just $10,000 for 1 hour. It's $10,000 for many people for a whole week out of your business, on top of decades of experience where you've studied, made mistakes, worked for free, learned things the hard way. And you're not just giving away that 1 hour of knowledge, you're giving away a lifetime of knowledge, mistakes, and value.
Yeah, and I will, yes, not so much of a shock, but probably would be a shock for people to hear that I am that person. I need and the older I get, and I guess the more I'm in tune with myself, I now build in a lot more buffer, because I would just go, go, go. I wouldn't count the driving time. I wouldn't count the socializing. I wouldn't count the day after where I didn't recognize that I was wiped out from it. Because you give a lot.
It's very common, very common.
You give a
Yeah.
lot. So this year, learning from that. Last year when I finished my MC gig, and I told my co-anchor in India, I said, I cried. I cried in the morning. I just had this like big emotional release.
Aww.
It was, and like processing all of it. And it was a big, like a meaningful event. But then I started to go into like doubt. I couldn't hear the nice things that were being said. I could only hear like, could have done this better. I could have done that better, because we're
that
a high
breaks my
achiever,
heart,
right?
but that's very common, definitely.
And so this year, though, I allowed myself that. And so the year before, I'd gone out, with one of the founders and talked to him all afternoon. Then we went to the team drinks. Then I didn't get to my hotel till 11:30 p.m. This time I went straight back to the hotel at 5. I jumped in the pool. I was by myself watching the sunset. I was in bed by 8, listening to audios, and just, I sleep by 10. And so then the next morning I was fine. And I was like waiting for the drop, and I was like, I'm good. But I booked a massage that day as well. I booked the whole next day of just like a self-care day. It's because it's like, I've worked, I've done this big job. Give yourself that, reward it, as well as then it's like, so then I don't go, oh, I've got to MC. Oh, I've got to speak. It's like, oh, yay, I get to go and do this thing. It's going to be a lot of energy. And then I get this really gorgeous day after. But yeah, it is energy and emotion, and can charge you up. But I think, understanding your personality and understanding your needs. And we used to look at people like, what you were saying before about your demands or your requests could make you professional, but we could also be seen to be a diva. And I'm like, no, that's just what they need. Like, you look at the Celine Dion's and the Mariah Careys, they need all those things to do their job so that we get the amazing performance. So you need time, space, or socializing, whatever you need. That's what you need to do your job awesomely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm just laughing. I'm not going to get this story right, but when you're talking about like the divas and all that sort of thing, how they have a rider where they Mariah Carey wants, still water, room temperature. Someone was telling me, I can't remember which band it is. I hope I might get this wrong, and hopefully I will get it wrong, and then it can be controversial. Then people can write in. I think it was Van Halen or someone have you heard of the brown M&Ms in their rider?
Yeah.
And then they requested that, and everyone thought, oh gosh, they want the brown M&Ms removed. But the whole idea of that was if the organizer or the event host got that wrong, that was like a litmus test. What else did they get wrong? If they
Yeah.
couldn't get the M&Ms detail right, then what else have they failed? They failed the sound, the lighting, anything else. So that was just something that someone told me the other day, and I'll never forget it, like a little
Well,
test for
and you
the
become the
host.
face of the event, right? And so like people come up to you, especially as an MC role. And it was something I asked you in the course. So people might I'd love you to explain a bit more. I know, but for our audience, what MCing is, and whether it's written MC or EMCEE, controversial. But anyway, I asked you, should you have a separate kit for speaking and for MCing? And you were like, huh, I've never thought of that. But they are different roles, and we have
Mm,
now created. So my page is more leaning towards MCing, and we
yeah,
currently have
yeah.
a speaker kit, but I'm making an MC kit. So, like, could you explain the difference in the
Yeah, and
role?
so it's funny now because since you asked me that, I've now got another course called Paid to MC, and I say the letter M and the letter C because it's an acronym for Master of Ceremonies. I've never written an EMCEE, but I know
Yeah.
Captions does it that way when you caption something. But yeah, and so it was an interesting question, and even to this day, I don't have a separate MC kit. Last year, I did 71 MC gigs and didn't have a single MC kit at all. And so that's all word of mouth. But, if you are starting out, and that's why I created a whole course on MCing, it is a different kettle of fish. For me, it's piss easy. I don't even need, I can, and I tell you why it's easy because I've been doing it since I was 13, but also, and I can handle anything. MC roles in many cases are actually more important than a keynote speaker. It really affects the running of the event. You're introducing speakers. You have to sometimes get in and do interviews on stage. Sometimes, I've had to turn up and they've said, can you interview last year I had Michelle Payne, who was was the only female, but now she was the first of two females to win the Melbourne Cup ever. And I had to interview her on stage. That was a lot of preparation work. I had to watch the movie Run Like a Girl, that wasn't hard, but then I had to put together a slideshow and go back and forth with her agent with the different questions. There was a lot of pre-work, but apart from that, a lot of the time it's just turn up and handle interruptions. The other reason I find it so easy now, touch wood, so many times now, and I mean like 99% of the time when I MC anything, and I have repeat customers. So I've MC'd the RSL New South Wales annual AGM for the last 3 years in Newcastle, and it was in Tamworth last year. And for situations like that, I love working with the organisers because they give me the MC notes word for word.
Hmm.
Whereas in the old days, like I'm talking a decade ago, not only was I never charging for MCing, it kind of was just seen as something that you would volunteer to do. And people still do that. I went to a conference on Friday in Newcastle, which had former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, the 29th Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, as one of the guests. And the MC admitted on the day, I mean, he was the chair of the organisation, but he said, I'm doing this as a volunteer. But 10 years ago, everyone was volunteering as an MC, and you had to write all the MC notes yourself, go through the run sheet. I had to MC I did MC a lot of charity balls. And they're the most stressful moments of my life because sometimes the auctioneer will be late, they won't turn up, or people are pledging things on the night. The band goes over. It's just such a strict run sheet, or someone gets drunk, or
Hmm.
they're really relying on the MC to make the night
Keep
flow
things
smoothly.
going.
And yeah, and to earn as much money as you can. And so, very different kettle of fish. I mostly do MCing now, and it definitely is something which people should consider as adding. If you are already speaking, you should add that as an extra income stream in your business because it can be quite lucrative.
And it's funny, people they like it or they don't. They go, oh no, I could never MC, but they can do a 1 hour keynote.
Yeah,
Um,
it blows me away.
I
I think a one
know.
hour keynote takes so much more energy.
I think so too. And
Mm.
also a lot more nerves and prep, and I feel like they're not really like they're worried and that they're thinking about their thing. Whereas we're coming up and it's like you're gonna have to ad lib at some point. But also if there's a script, you're reading the script. And sometimes that's kind of the boring bit. Like you're literally reading out all the sponsors, all the partners, all the where's the bathrooms, like and I did a wedding last year and it was like, you're just a bit of like a teacher, you're a bit like a school, like the mum. You're like, come on, everyone. Like, come on. Like, put your drinks
Yeah, a little bit of
down.
shush.
Yeah, I was like, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. Like, and I just by the end
Yeah.
of the night, I was like, oh, I'm not fun. Like, I usually get to be like, I'm not the fun one.
Oh,
I'm the like
yeah.
stopping the fun to talk. They just want to dance, but that's.
And drink. Yeah.
And drink, and that's
Yeah.
your role. And I learned that the MC role was so important from comedy gigs. I used to think, seeing some of my comedian friends doing their like doing the MC is like, oh, they don't get to be the headliner. And it's like, yeah, but they get to be there the whole show and they get to do jokes in between, and you see them the most. And then
Mm,
as well, because they're not the headliner or the keynote, they get invited back year on year or week on week or whatever. So
mm.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, well, like it totally shifted my perspective on that. But you really helped me a couple of years ago, Jamie, where and it was in the course and I was being rather lazy as but this is our thing as course creators, and you always give. But I said, I know that somewhere in your course is a contract. I've got to do this contract. I'm doing a
Mm.
virtual speaking. Do you have an online speaking agreement? And you sent me that, which was great. So you sent it straight to me. And it allowed me to charge almost double
Oh,
because
that's
I had this
great.
really formal agreement. You also like, I think I also asked a question at the same time. It was like, would you charge 20% upfront or 50% upfront? And just that quick, here it is. Yep, do this. Just gave me that little boost of confidence to go, yep, I can do that. And like yours, sent it, said, this is the dealio, paid it that day because it was professional.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because it was, not like, oh, pay me later, or oh, we'll figure that out, or just do. Like, no, this is my agreement. This is how I work. I can do it, but you have to do this. And it was like, it was so helpful. So thank you for
Oh.
that.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, look, these days ChatGPT can do those for you, but it still gives you a nice foundation. There's an online version and an in-person agreement template in Word.
But to have something that someone has used, because,
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
as well is like, does it have the right things? And you can have, like I've had with my retreats, somebody has had to use the terms and conditions and they've gone back through and there's like a line in there that seems, but it's people do read it and they need to read
Yeah.
it and they can come back at you on it. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's like making
Each
sure
way.
that
Yeah.
those terms are to make sure you don't just take it blindly or read it and change it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Also,
it's a good reminder actually, because even though I've got it in there, I'm even thinking myself that like I haven't been sending that agreement lately. And I'm very trusting. I always invoice the client afterwards as well. I really should. It's one of those things until you get burned though, you're very blasé about it. But I do have that in there and I do encourage people to do it. So I probably should take some of my own advice. But I'm touch wood, never had a client not pay or breach any sort of agreement. But yeah, it is a good thing to do that, and it gives you that professional presence as well when you do sort of present that to the client.
you've earned it. You've
Yeah.
earned it, and you work for it. And bless him. My son Finn was saying the other day that when he's older, he wants to work with mummy. And I said, well, mummy was just on stage talking. So he's like, I want to do like your books. I was like, oh, that's lovely. I was like, but mummy also does talking. I said, maybe when you're older, we can do it together. I said, oh, you could take over my job. He's like, no, I want to do it together. I was like, oh, like how funny that our kids are only ever going to see us like this. Like he
Yeah.
comes, he's been in the audience, like that
Yeah.
they like, oh, my mummy talks on stage. Like,
Yeah, I get it. The kids are so easily influenced. My other half's a stay-at-home dad currently, and my youngest said the other day, I said, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And he's about to turn 6, and he said, "I want to be a dad." I'm like, anything else? Just a dad. Why would I want to be anything else?
yeah, I'm looking at a
Like,
wife who
yeah,
goes out and works. This great
exactly.
setup. I get to
Yeah,
play with my
yeah,
kids.
my wife can work.
I love that role reversal. Well, look, one of the questions I always ask Jamie, and we talked about it a little bit before, but well, I didn't really say I'll ask one and then I'll ask another one. But so when I went to India to MC, people kept saying, "So you just came to India to MC?" I'm like, "Yep," and they're like, "So you flew all the way here to speak at this thing?" And I'm like, "Yes," and I just think. It's something that, I talk about pleasure, which is combining business and leisure. And one of the revenue streams that I talk about is speaking. And, that's what you're giving your clients. And like you've had the opportunity too, is that this is a skill set that is required all over the world. There are events all over the world. There's also virtual events. Like this is something that you can earn money from and travel with.
Absolutely. Yeah. Is that a question or is that a comment?
It's a comment, but like you've had experiences and you said you're going to stay in an almost six-star hotel. So like
Yeah.
what has speaking allowed you to do with your being able to work from different places?
Oh, absolutely. It's opened up opportunities to go all over the world and to connect. I mean, post COVID, I think I still charge the same rate generally for a virtual speaking event as well as in person. For me, because people often say, why don't you want to do speaking full time? And to me, speaking full time is at least, 3 speaking gigs a week. I don't do more. I mean, March and August, especially March, is always a concentrated period. But generally speaking, I try and keep it to 2 a month, like
Yep.
2 really good quality MC or keynote gigs. In fact, 4 years ago, it was just all keynotes, and now it's mostly MCing, but I can do a bit of both. Because for me, I love teaching others how to do it. And I never want to lose the passion for it. Some of my clients now, they're on the same speaker bureau as me and they're doing 3 a week, 3 to 5 a week. I don't like that because I don't ever want to get tired of it. I've had only positive experiences, but it certainly has opened up doors and allowed me to mix with so many different industries, including allied health professionals. I work with a lot of lawyers of all different professions as well, medical teams. I've gone all over the world and worked with surgeons all over the world in London, America. I've worked with UN diplomats in Jamaica, for example, as well, and got to speak on the east coast of America while I was living there as well. And so, yeah, it's just unlike anything. But when you think about it on an hourly rate, it is the highest paying profession in the world. And I also believe there are more speaking opportunities than there are people. And I have the greatest gift in opening up people's eyes to that world and seeing like a proud mum, seeing them flourish and get paid for, not only their expertise, but get paid their worth as well.
And I think that's something that I've noticed from some of my speaking friends is that you really do have to treat it like a business, treat it like a revenue stream. There is pitching, there is follow-up, there's not just that delivery. And so they're really treating it like and putting together their keynote or putting together their speaker kit, like that does require work, which is why
Oh,
they
so much
command
work.
a
Yeah.
higher rate, but they call it their speaking business. And
Yeah,
it's not just a
absolutely.
little thing. It's like, here's my brain on my course business or my coaching business, and here's my brain on my speaking business. And like you said, and with young children, like the virtual is amazing because otherwise you are like that energy of even when you have lots of energy, it's still saying yes to something to say no to something else.
So true. Absolutely. And you've only got a certain amount of energy. And as I said, I'm a 110% extrovert, and it still drains me a little bit when I'm doing the 1 hour keynote. I get sore feet standing there in heels.
I
I always
know
get a
your
foot
toes.
massage.
Oh my
I
God.
laugh because I live in Newcastle in New South Wales, Australia, and most of my gigs are in Sydney. And I drive down and back, and I always stop at this Westfield Tuggerah, which is on the Central Coast, and I get a foot massage at this same lady every time. And I tell her about my speaking gigs. My feet are throbbing. I wouldn't want to do that 3 to 4 times a week. I don't know. If it takes it out of me, I can only imagine how much it takes it out of someone who needs that downtime and doesn't get fueled 24/7 by other people. And so, yeah, but it's certainly, if you can do what you want to do, the world's your oyster as far as the opportunities that speaking can bring.
And I think that's a great tip. Like, create your speaker kit is not just the thing you pitch out, but what's your speaker kit in terms of your rituals and your what you require to show up. You mentioned a great one. I heard you talking on a video the other day about throat coat,
Yeah.
which don't Google it. Throat
Don't
coat
get mistaken for
tea,
throat goat either. That's
throat
what someone
coat
said.
tea.
Oh
Um,
dear.
because I
Yeah,
got
it's a
introduced to
thing.
that with my audiobook, and it was amazing because
Oh
speaking for
yeah.
5 days.
I'd never heard of it before.
It was amazing. But yeah, that really showed me how much energy speaking is. And yesterday I was pooped and I was like, why am I so tired? And it's like, because I did 2 podcasts and I did 3 phone calls for an hour. Like, this is still energy.
Yeah, it is.
This is
Yeah.
still speaking.
Yeah.
So creating your toolkit of like, yeah, I always get a foot massage I after the event, I go in the car and I only
You
listen
buy
to
your throat coat
music,
and your
buy your throat
deflam
coat.
and your gargle. Yeah.
Yeah, and find your things that you need to nurture to be able to show up fully and do
Yeah, we
the
should also specify for those people who are going, what? Throat coat is a tea and it's got licorice extract and marshmallow extract. And you get it from health food stores. I got it on Amazon. And you sip this hot tea, throat coat, and it does make a difference.
it
And I
really
know
coats your
that a lot of
throat.
speakers take it. What's that?
It really coats your throat.
Yeah,
Like it's
it
very, it's
does.
like
It sounds so inappropriate though, but
well,
it's
it only
not.
sounded inappropriate after you said that, and now I can't
As
unhear
if
or
I
think
was the
that.
only person who thought that. In fact, I said it on stage last Wednesday night at the Janine Ellis one, and the audience laughed because I said, "Don't go and Google it." Because you get all sorts of things, but you got to have a laugh. And I think that's the
Yes.
other thing. Now I'm getting a lot more experience with this stuff. I'm really, especially in Newcastle, because I'm from here and I always know most of the audience. But I'm really starting to get funny rather than being wooden. Well, get
Mm.
funny. I'm starting to let my hair down and attempt to be funny rather than just be so wooden and ladies and gentlemen, going to have your attention. I'm getting up there and saying, I've got throat coat, don't Google it. And people love that. In fact, people who've known me for years, so my clients, PR club members were in the audience and said, that was the best I've ever seen you. But, you can't, it's always a risk trying to be funny. But I
No.
think the bottom line is if you can be authentic and take the piss out of yourself a little bit, especially in front of Australian audiences, people will love that and reward you for it.
But it's your personality that they're getting you for, Jamie, and you're
Yeah.
not. I think that was my sadness, I guess, after last year. What I was questioning was like, should I have been more like the other? So I had a co-anchor, and I think he was actually a little threatened by me and how I was just me. Like, whereas he was like, he's probably newer to the industry, whereas this year I worked with a different anchor. He's older, it's his full-time thing. And we just had a much better rapport and respect. But I think he was then trying to be like the real showman and very like, and very India. They're like, ladies and gentlemen, and like I was like, should I
Like
have been
Slumdog
more
Millionaire, the
loud?
host on that. Yeah.
And men can, and they could both project their voice so much more than I could. And maybe that's something would be great to work on. But that's what the microphone's for. But they would really like boom it out. And I was like, and so then I was second guessing myself. But then, like I said, I had to go and listen to, and my husband said, is Uncle happy? Like, he's the founder, the organizer. I call him Uncle. He's like, is Uncle happy? He's the client. That's it. He's happy. He said, aren't you booked for next year? I was like, yes. And it was, I needed to hear that though. And it really helps. I'd say to audience members too, if you see a great MC, if you see a great speaker, don't just think that they're getting the limelight and they're getting all this. Like, we need to be told as well, and we
That's
need
a
to
good
hear
point.
it.
Yeah. I need more
Very
ego boosts.
vulnerable. It's very vulnerable to be up there. And I
Yeah,
think,
I agree. That's a really good message, actually, Emma. I love that.
yeah, and for
Mm.
you, Jamie, like you are being hired because of you have this energy and you have this personality, like you are magnetic and you are vulnerable and you are honest and you absolutely, what you're seeing of Jamie, what you're hearing of Jamie, like 100% private room, one-on-one conversation, like doesn't matter their room, you
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
Jamie. You get Jamie, 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 Jamie. Like
Yeah,
that's
thank
it.
you. I
So
appreciate that. A
credit.
fairly new friend of mine I've known for 9 months. I've only ever met his parents whilst I've had a few drinks. And a couple of nights ago, they met me. What I hadn't, I've only seen them at social events like birthday parties and charity balls. And a couple of nights ago, I met them whilst I was completely sober. And I was even more crazy. And they said, have you had anything to drink? I'm like, no, this is actually how I am all the time.
The level. This is Jamie level. So everyone's
Yes.
level, this level, Jamie level.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I
Jamie,
love it.
the question I love to ask people is how are you living a life you love now? How are you bringing it all together and finding your own sense of harmony?
Oh, I think you have to ask yourself, if I won lotto, would I still do what I do today? Do I love getting up in the mornings? Am I being authentic? Am I being myself? Am I getting to live, from start to finish every day? Am I having fun? And I absolutely am. I'm having fun. I'm really true to myself. You're never going to please everyone. You're always going to get judged. Not everyone's going to always like you. When you really sit in that, in the last year, for the first time in my life, I've really not only come to that realization, but realized that no one is perfect. the people around me, they not only are not perfect, but they also realize that, and they've been judged. I've got a really incredible circle of friends now. It's mostly I've met them through business, actually. And I don't know, I've had a lot of life lessons. I've lost 50 kilos, and with that comes a whole heap of mental, physical transformation, and just people's reaction to that. It's mostly positive, but there's been some negatives as well. And just having to live and kind of learn that lesson. But I guess, at the end of the day, am I true to how I want to be? And then when I wake up, can I not wait to get into work? And I'm going to an event tonight, an art gallery opening. I can't wait to get there. And I'm telling my friends, are you all going? We're all going. And, I guess that's just all you can hope for, happiness, and, being proud and getting to bed every night thinking, did I have a good day? Did I leave the world a better place than when I woke up? And if the answer is yes, then I think that's all you can hope for.
Oh, you make me emotional. Yeah, you live fully, Jaimie. You really, like 110%. And I think,
well, I've come from the Liberal Party, a very conservative political party, and the military. I'm a senior officer in the military, and I think I just played it too safe and was worried about perceptions and what people think. And now I'm just like, no, you're not going to please everyone anyway. In fact, I posted a photo of Malcolm Turnbull and I last week. I can't believe the hate. And I just gave it back. I just gave it back every time someone said, you've lost all my respect. And I'm like, wow, if my reputation is lost from one photo, then, we're all in trouble if it's hanging by that much of a thread. I just gave it back to every single person. No one came back again. I thought, it's my page. I'm not ever getting into politics again. I can write what I want. And so it's just incredibly freeing to just not have to worry all the time what people think and just be truly authentic to yourself. And I think that attracts the right people in business and personal life as a result.
I love it, Jaimie. And what is next for you? What's coming up?
My next launch, so Paid to Speak. If you want to join the wait list, you can just go to my website, jamieabbott.com, jamieabbott.com.au. I think paidtospeak.com.au redirects you there as well. All roads lead to there. And it opens up May and October every single year. So depending on when you're listening to this, the next May or the next October, I know that my podcasts live forever. Join the wait list. You get Paid to MC now thrown in. It's gone up a fair bit, the course, since you joined, but that's because we have the results now. And, I could never do another speaking gig again, but I've got the results of 300 people now going through the course. And that's a beautiful thing. So if you want to check it out, would love to have you in the next intake.
Jaimie gives a lot. And I'm going to totally just accountability, throw you under the bus, plant the seed. Jaimie's also in my Host Profitable Retreat course.
I am, yeah.
And I very much know that she is a woman of action. So watch this space, because she's whatever she's going to do, but I can see an incredible retreat time with Jaimie on the cards. So we will watch that space and look forward to celebrating that. But yeah, thank you for your support, Jaimie. Thank you for being available. Thank you for showing up and showing us what's possible, and very happy to have you shining in my world.
Thank you. Likewise. Thanks so much, Emma. Good to chat to you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening, lovely one. I hope this has inspired you to dream big and start creating a life you love today. If you love what you're hearing, don't forget to follow and rate on Spotify, and rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. It helps other awesome people to find this podcast and get motivated and inspired as well. Want to stay connected? Come and join the Live a Life You Love group on Facebook, or connect with me on Instagram, emmalovell.au. The same as my website, but all the details are in the show notes, lovely. I'll see you next episode for more inspiration, motivation, and freedom seeking. Now go out there and live a life you love.